be tipping. I'm so sorry, Glenn. Got Glenn back there racking his brain. But think about the Battle of Mount Carmel. He's doing that because he's doing the YouTube stuff. Think about the battle at Mount Carmel. All these people, they go through, man, they rip their clothes and they praying to their God. They want to see this thing happen. And then, Elijah realizes it's not going to happen, so Elijah starts taunting them a little bit. Call on your God some more. He just might be asleep. Y'all remember, don't you, in Scripture? Keep calling on him. He might be asleep. Or keep calling on him. He probably busy doing somewhere else because my God can do more than one thing. I got enough faith to believe that if my God is over here doing something, he can be over here doing something as well. So keep calling on him. But then all Elijah turned and did was prayed. He didn't pray a long prayer. He just turned and said, Lord, I'm out here by myself. I have no allies. I need you to do this. And what does God do? Send down fire from heaven. So it destroy the altar. It even says the fire licked up the water that was in the trench and destroyed everything and killed the 450 prophets of Baal. But the human side of Elijah showed up when Elijah got afraid of Jezebel, when she told him, I'm going to do to you and more because of what you did. But at the end of the day, Elijah never died. And his spirit, we talked about this Friday night, that same Elijah spirit, by faith, was the spirit that was in John the Baptist. Same spirit. Because he never died, because he was faithful. Listen at this, verse 6. And without faith, when you're faithless, so again, we go back to the whole purpose of this lesson, the whole purpose of these 11 weeks is to take those who lack faith and build and give them a sense of understanding the need for faith, right? And those who may have a little faith to build them up in their faith. It's important that we as believers be the example of God's faith because of verse 6. It says, without faith, it is impossible to please God. So Enoch had faith, so we're tying verse 6 to verse 5 because the testimony was that Enoch pleased God, but Enoch pleased God because Enoch had faith. So that when you take a look at that, if we're going to please God, we've got to have faith. We got to have faith because without faith it is impossible to please God. For he who comes to God must believe that he is and that he is a rewarder of those who seek him. So in essence, we understand that if we're going to really please God, if we're going to see the things that we're believing God for come to pass in our lives, it's only going to come to pass by faith. Look at Noah, verse 7. By faith, Noah, being warned by God about things not yet seen, in reverence prepared an ark for the salvation of his household, by which he condemned the world, and became, there's that word you was talking about, Dickie, and became an heir of the righteousness which is according to what? Which is according to faith. Now, see, faith is not waiting for something to happen to act. Remember, let's go back to our working definition of faith. I said my definition is faith is a current action that produces a future result. Faith is a current action that produces a future result. We even said faith is our hope today for what we expect tomorrow. So Noah built the ark today even though it had never rained. It had not rained. So some people say, well, how did God create man? I thought he created it from the dust of the ground. God loved man so much. God had such an intent on what he do. He does everything with a purpose. He caused the dew to come from under the ground. Rain didn't come from the sky. He caused the dew to come from under the ground. And when the dew came from under the ground, he took the clay and made man from the dew that came from under the ground. So what ends up happening is now what we understand is the Lord caused the rain, but Noah didn't wait for it to rain to act. Noah didn't wait for it. So it would be one thing if Noah waited on the thunder to start building. Y'all know how we tend to do. We want to get ready when we should have been ready. So some people say, Pastor, you got us here at 8 o'clock in the morning. But what if 500 people showed up at 10:30? 500 people can't sit in this room. So guess what we're going to have to do? We're going to have some folks here at 8 o'clock and another service at 10:30. So we have to be prepared for that. You can't wait till people come to be prepared. Pastor, why do you want to go ahead and build out a parking lot all the way to the tree line, all the way up to the front of this property? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do that now? We're not filling up what we have. Last Sunday we had cars all the way down to the tree line. So why wait till the people get here to start doing that? What if a thunderstorm happened one day and that whole hill get washed out and folks' cars get washed out with it? Because we waited for the people to come before we were prepared for the people to get here. Does that make sense? So what you have to do it by faith. So Noah built an ark for the salvation of his people so that before it even rained. So God was tired of striving with man. So he said, you know what, Noah, here's what I need you to do. I'm going to start this thing all over again. But what if Noah had waited till it started drizzling? Y'all know y'all saw J.P. Dice tell y'all that it was going to rain and you didn't buy an umbrella. You didn't take an umbrella with you, but you went to Walmart and bought one and spent money that you didn't have, and you got 3 in your garage or at your front door. But instead of just going ahead and grabbing your umbrella and being prepared, you got to spend money that you didn't have to spend, because if you walk in there to buy an umbrella, you're going to spend $100. All for an umbrella, because when you get in there, they're going to tell you we all out because everybody had the same thought you had. But I need to pick up a few things while I'm here. So you pick up a few things while you're there, go down the street and buy an umbrella, or mess up your hair. Then you got to get your hair fixed. So now you got to get your hair fixed, and you spend $100, and they still didn't have an umbrella. So I'm just trying to bring it to where you live. Does that make sense? I'm trying to bring it on your street. I'm trying to sit it at your table, because most times we wait to do something when it's happening, and we could have prepared to do it before if we have done it by faith. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So. Right. Mm-hmm. Remember, great point. Faith is a divine guarantee. Faith is a divine guarantee. So that's how the Amplified expands that definition out. Remember, we said it's the title deed. Faith is an assurance. It is the title deed. A title deed is a legal document that gives the evidence that you own something. Faith is the title deed. It is the spiritual evidence that you own something. Not in the physical, but you own it in the spirit. Does that make sense? See, that's why I'm telling you, man, I'm going to keep speaking. I'm going to keep speaking to Him Faith Academy. I'm going to keep speaking of building being built over there. I'm going to keep speaking that this whole building is going to be designated for our youth. I'm going to keep speaking that there's going to be parking all the way out to the tree line. with a sidewalk wide enough for two golf carts, and one be going one way, the one be coming this way. Well, we're taking people behind here on a big driveway, where we're gonna be driving them right around to this building, taking them to the front door, or taking them to the side door on this building. People coming in the front door. We're gonna have. Listen, I'm believing this stuff by faith. I already see it happen. I see the folks driving the golf carts. Yeah, I see it being so many folk here. Trussville Police is forced to come here and direct traffic in and out of here. But you've got to listen. You got to believe this stuff by faith. Some people say, some people say, well, why you have a desire to have so many people? It's not a desire to have so many people. It's a desire to provide resources for people. That's what it's all about. It's not just to have all these folks and to say you got all these folks. No, it's an opportunity to provide resources. So now when you show up on a Wednesday, you showed up to work out, you ate a nutritious dinner, you went to Bible study, and you went home. You come by the church to work out. You don't pay no $85 a month to go to the YMCA. I think, okay, now let's just start right there. Let's just think about it. Let's just put some thought to this thing. Let's put some thought to this. You pay $85 to go stand around and wait to get on a machine that you might not even get on. I heard somebody say, I don't pay but $20 to go to Planet Fitness, but you still pay them $20. And you don't even get the premium service at $20. It's a part of it you don't get. But guess what? When you come to your own church, boop, you swipe in, you're at your own church, and guess what? Them same $85 that you give over there, you give your tithe and offering here, ain't nobody charge you to do nothing. Does that make sense? So, but guess what? You got to believe by faith. If you believe by faith that this stuff is going to come to pass, guess what? It is the assurance. It's the title deed. Faith brings about an assurance. Faith, watch this, faith brings about a divine guarantee that God is going to do what he said he's going to do. By faith, Noah, being warned, he went ahead and built the ark. Now, we do know that one of the greatest fathers of faith we ever have is Abraham. That we ever go back and take a look at is Abraham. Look at what it said about Abraham in verse 8. By faith, when he was called, obeyed by going out to a place which he was to receive for an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. Let's go to Genesis chapter 12. Let's take a look at this. I'm in there. That's good. We all in this thing together. Chapter 12, starting at verse 1. Now the Lord said. See what I'm talking about? God's talking again. When God said in Genesis, let there be light, and there was light, God is getting ready. God is talking to Abraham. He said, now the Lord said to Abraham, go forth from your country and from your relatives and from your father's house to a land, watch this, that I will show you. So because God is saying this, it gives a divine guarantee that the land is there even if you can't see it. Why is it there even if you can't see it? Because we walk by what? Faith and not by sight. If we just walk according to what God says, he's going to give you what he's telling you to do. Most times we never accomplish what God has given us to do is because we grow weary in our walk. We grow weary. We give up on the path, and if you stay on the path, what God has, watch this, it's going to get in your way. It's literally going to get in your way. But we give up before we get there because we grow weary. Bible says, Galatians 6 and 9, be not weary in well-doing. Why? Because in due time, you will reap if you don't faint, or at the proper time. Most of us want to dictate the time. You can't, bottom line, guys, I don't care how you try to do it, you're not going to dictate the time. Somebody gonna ask me, well, how you do that, Pastor? How you do it, man? How do you just have that kind of faith where you don't try to dictate the time? My answer to you is by faith. It's by faith. Man, y'all, let me tell y'all something. When my wife and I walked up on the property where we live today, man, if you would have saw that place, you would have been like, man, you are crazy. It is no way possible I'd buy that. It looked horrible. The wood was warped. The guy walked away. A big old hole in the front yard. You had to walk across a beam this wide to get into the house. No steps. Once you got to a certain point, you had to jump to just like a little wooden area. Just a big piece of plywood. You just had to, it was like, people was like, are y'all crazy? And I showed my dad the pictures. He was like, really? I'm like, yeah. But it's by faith. And when we got in there, we prayed. We didn't see it. You couldn't see it. So a guy asked me about this church. He said, man, where you going to get the people from? Where the folks going to come from? You just going to start something? Most people, a lot of folks start something. They start off somewhere else, and then they tell the people, I'm leaving, and then they take a bunch of folks with them and start what they start. Right? They just take a bunch of folks, and we strike up the band, and we go. Folks ask me, man, you ain't got nowhere to meet. One guy told me, you ain't got no people, you ain't got no money, and you ain't got no place. The guy told me in my face, he said, you can't start no church. I'm like, dude, you don't know who I know. And when God spoke to me, God said, man, listen, you believe me. You got faith in me. He said, but when I do this, your faith level going to go to a whole nother level. And you will be able to help other people take their faith level to a whole nother level. And that's really what this is about. Taking your faith walk to because think about it. God is telling Abraham, man, just go for a walk. I'll show you. How many of us, God is literally saying, hey, do this, and it's going to happen, but you don't see it yet? Because remember now, it's the evidence of things we don't see. It's the assurance. Man, when we walked in this place, y'all remember that Sunday we walked in here? Me and my wife walked in here first. It was cold. It was drafty. Man, it was stinking. It was green. It looked horrible. Man, we walked in here, then we came over here that Sunday. I went back to the church. I said, man, we going to go on a field trip. We came over here on a Sunday. The lady met the real estate agent met us out here. People walked in like, man. But you know what? The people said, the people that came with us that day, they said, man, we can do this. Remember, we had folks that said, man, Pastor, I believe we can do this. It didn't look like this. It didn't smell like this. It didn't feel like this. Windows was broke downstairs, but we still believe by faith in what God can do. So God, listen, God's faith, it doesn't operate like our life. I mean, when we have faith in God, it don't operate like our life. You know, so he tells Noah, go take a walk, man. I got to notice now, God says, I'm making a promise that you can't see. That's what faith is. Faith is God making a promise that you can't see it. He said, I'm going to show you the place if you just go. You'll never see the place that God wants to take you if you never leave from where you are. Notice now, Abraham had to leave his comfort zone. He had to leave his comfort zone. I tell people this all the time. Growth happens at the end of your comfort zone. Growth literally happens when you get uncomfortable. But see, most of us can't handle being uncomfortable because we want comfort. And faith is not about being comfortable. Faith is really about being uncomfortable. Faith is literally about literally God taking your life. Watch this. God taking your life and you become a human rubber band where he just takes you and stretches you. Watch this. He'll stretch you to the point where you break. But even if you break, guess what? He's still the potter and you're the clay. Listen, he's still the potter. You're still the clay. And guess what? He ain't going to break you, but you might break. He's not going to break you. But even if you break, you still got somewhere to go down to the potter's house to get back on the wheel again and get back in the way again. Does that make sense? He says, go. He said, I'll show you. Listen at all the promises, and we're going to get ready to stop. Listen to all the promises, these first 3 verses. Listen to all the promises that God makes Abraham with regard to what he's telling him to do. He says, I will show you. My promise is I'm going to show you the land. Then he came back and said, and I will make you a great nation. I'll make you great. See, some of us want to make ourselves great, but it's God that makes us great. Yeah, so can I just give me a transparent moment with y'all. Sometimes you'll sit around as a pastor, preacher, and you'll say, man, that guy never called me to come preach at his church. But he never invited me over here. But God said, when that happens, you make your name great. He said, but when I do it, I make your name great. See, because when he makes your name great, you give him glory. When you make your name great, you don't give him glory. Because when you make your name great, your name is about you and not about him. See, he wants to make your name great. See, your name great, watch this, when your name is great and it's tied to him, you can use his name to get anything you want. Because you know that your name is tied to him. And you can have whatever you want when he makes your name great. But when you make your name great, you limit yourself to what God can do for you when you make it great. Your name is only limited to the power that, watch this, your name is limited by the power of you. But when he makes your name great, there's power in his name that makes this limitless. Does that make sense? He says, I'll make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great. I'll make, out of you will come a nation. Man, that's powerful. All of this is by faith now. If you go, it all starts with the first action that Abraham has to take. It starts by leaving your comfort zone, but here's what I'm going to do in the process. I'm going to show you the land. I'm going to make you a great nation. He says, I'm going to bless you.